Today I'd like to start off by sharing the agenda. We are going to be covering the California standards in which we are writing and citing strong textual evidence when we write our essay. As you know, we have been reviewing essay writing. You had three choices of writing a character analysis or a theme analysis or a compare and contrast in which you compare two of the main characters in Antigone, the play that we have been reading, and it's a drama by Sophocles. Today I am going to explain how to write an introductory paragraph. Usually when you write an essay, you want to introduce a topic. So if you are writing, for example, if you chose Creon, your subject is Creon, and you want to start with a hook. You start with something compelling. You start with something like really interesting. It could be a quote, it could be a fact, and it could be maybe a funny line. So what is a hook? It is something to attract the attention of your reader. A hook starts with a compelling statement, a question, or an anecdote related to the literary word to grab the reader's attention. And then you're supposed to provide a little bit of context. As in, like, the reader might have no idea of, like, what are you talking about? What's this book about? So you want to provide context. Okay, and Stevie, can you please read the context, number 2?
Context: provide some background information about the word and its significance or historical context. This provides context for your analysis.
Awesome. So the context, for example, when we are writing, you have just before you introduce what you are writing about, you would say, in Antigone's Sophocles play, Creon is, whatever Creon is, give a little bit of background information. So that's the context. And then last time we talked about writing a thesis statement. What is a thesis statement? I am going to ask everybody to kind of like think about it. We did this in our last class. We did write, and you also wrote some thesis statements. So turn to your partner and just remind yourself of what a thesis statement is. Can you take about 30 seconds to a minute to turn to your partner and talk about what is a thesis statement, explain to each other, and then I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call individuals to explain what the thesis statement is. Go ahead. Seconds to consult with your partner, and I am going to be using, I actually just picked up from the cup a couple of names. When you hear your name, please respond. Mark, what is a thesis statement? Please, Mark. Not here. Daisy. Can you say that again? Key points that you talk about in your essay. Would anyone else want to add to what Daisy just said about the thesis? Let's see, Ashley. Is she not here? Ashley? No? Choose one more person. Daniel, would you like to add a little bit on what the thesis statement is? You can also go back to your notes. Remember, last week you took notes. There was a couple of parts to writing a thesis. If you have your notebooks open, you can go back to that and refer to your notes. Daniel, go ahead, please.
Adding on to what Daisy said, I think it's like a main argument, like you list your reasoning.
Yes, you mentioned your line of reasoning. So if you're making if you're writing an essay and you're making an argument, you have your line of reasoning. Maybe you're arguing that Korean is such a great leader. Or maybe your argument is that Korean is such a dictator. Whatever argument you have a line of reasoning. And that is what's in your thesis statement. So your thesis statement states your main arguments or analysis, outlining the key points you will discuss in your essay. This should be clear and concise statement that previews your argument. Again, like what we did last week, the line of reasoning. Number 4, I am going to ask Aiden. Can you please read number 4?
Briefly mention the main points or arguments you will use to support your thesis. This gives the reader an overview of your essay structure.
Okay, so today, what I'm trying to explain here is when you write a paragraph, there's a structure. Whether you're writing for an essay, whether you are writing for a college application, whether you are writing a job, like for job what do you call it? When you're applying for a job, sometimes you have to write about yourself. Same structure. You have the main topic, like you have a topic sentence, and in your paragraph, you only focus on one single idea, and you provide concrete details. Moving on. So these are the standards we'll be covering, making inferences, citing concrete details, and this is the agenda for today. Introductory paragraph, concluding paragraph, some essential questions, and I am going to ask you to write a character analysis about your Eurydice, and then I'm going to show you, before you do that, an example of a paragraph I did, but it's about my dad. I would like to show you the example I did, and then we'll proceed. Like I said, today I want to show you how to write a paragraph following a structure. When you write an introductory paragraph, you have a topic, and you also have a thesis statement, the main argument that you're making, and you have the supporting details like your CM1, your commentary where you paraphrase certain things. You have your CM2 where you do your analysis and you just explain in your own words what you understand from the play and what you're writing in your essay. So I am going to share a eulogy. Do you know what a eulogy is, or like what does eulogy mean? Eulogy? Anyone? Can you take a second to actually look up the word eulogy? It comes from the Greek EU, usually means good. So take a moment to look it up, and then we'll talk about the meaning of this word. If someone found the definition of eulogy and you'd like to share, you can volunteer. If not, yeah. Said? No? I am going to call on Catherine. Okay, Catherine, can you please tell us the definition of eulogy?
A speech or piece of writing that praises someone or something highly, typically someone who has just died.
Someone who has just died. So when we were reading, thank you so much for reading that definition. So eulogy, a speech or writing that praises someone who passed. I'm using a euphemism here. Sometimes you don't say died because it's a little too harsh. We use euphemisms to soften the the reality or the truth. As we were reading Antigone, there were a lot of like deaths, and part of it I just kind of like wanted to use an example because it is part of life. Why did we read Sophocles? There is a couple of lessons that we can get from reading, by reading the book. I am going to start by showing you, explaining the definition here. Here is a eulogy to honor my late dad's memory. Losing a family member is heartbreaking, and the grief is sometimes unbearable. Just like you saw with Eurydice, she was like so heartbroken, she had so much grief, and it was hard for her to deal with. That's part of life, right? And we learn about ways to cope with that. My thesis statement is, I start with my dad's name or introducing who he is. Sancho Joaquin was a remarkable human being. This is my thesis. He was a remarkable human being. And the line of reasoning, what I'm going to be arguing about is that he was kind, professional, and funny. So remember, we are using a parallel structure, so I'm just doing that with my example. My dad was a kind man. So this is my introductory paragraph. I have a topic sentence. Who am I talking about? My subject, my dad. What is the center of my topic, or what am I trying to explain? That he was a kind man. So in my example, I am going to provide concrete details, concrete details. I make some analysis of who he was, and I use examples to prove my arguments. Not only was he a father, a soldier, a teacher, but also a medical professional who dedicated his life to helping others. He leaves behind a legacy of compassion, service, and love that will never be forgotten. A loving father to 5 children, he helped my mom deliver their second child at home. He was also a soldier who fought during the Civil War before Mozambique's independence in the 1970s. He was a teacher in a nursing program. Then he continued his studies and became a general practitioner. So my dad was a medical doctor who took care of families. My dad was not only just a father to me, he was kind, friendly, and caring to many of his parents and to many of his patients and colleagues. In loving memory to the man who taught me that serving others is a higher calling. That's how come I became a teacher, because I want to serve, and I have been inspired by my parents. I am grateful to you, Papa, a father, a fighter, and a healer. And this is a picture, it's kind of like hard to see right there. I'm going to minimize for, so this is like my younger sister. This is circa 1987, so this is a picture of my dad. And again, it was a little bit hard for me to share that. It's just an example of how to write. So I described him as a character, I explained what he did, and again, it is a eulogy. I'm using this as an example to like honor my dad. With the example that we are going to do, or with what you are writing, it's a little bit different, but you're using the same structure. You have a subject, a topic, and you support what you're trying to say. And I'm sorry, I got a little emotional, it's a little uncomfortable, but as you know, one of the themes we addressed in the play was grief. There's a lot of grief, and part of it, like sometimes you think, oh, grief will go away. It doesn't. Like my dad died, it's been like, I was 23 and now I'm 40, right? It's been a while, but just like thinking about those memories, it still brings that grief. But again, we can honor people who are no longer with us. All right, moving on. I think I'm over my emotional state here. When we write, we need to cite strong textual evidence. So, for example, when we do our example with Eurydice, we are going to choose a theme to address, like whatever, if you think maybe a theme of family, or a theme of fate, or a theme of of grief. Choose one, and then go back to your book and cite quotes or find text that would explain what she does. I am going to move on to an example that I have. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I meant to actually show you this before. So this is a picture of my family. I am one of 5. This one right here. Older sister, brother, younger sister, and my nephew who grew up with us. So like my sister had him when like she was young, but he grew up with us, and that's part of my family. Next, I'm going to ask you to actually, before we do that, I'm going to ask you to do an introductory paragraph about Eurydice. We are going to work in pairs, so you and the person next to you are going to write a paragraph, nothing too long, just like an introductory paragraph where you introduce who the person is. It is Eurydice. You are going to focus on page 239, and this is kind of like the quote that she uses, and we are going to use that to like practice. Okay? Any paper? We are actually going to do this example together. Some reason it's not showing. Okay. All right. So you're going to work in pairs to just write one introductory paragraph about Eurydice. And then we are going to look for, if you want to, you can turn back. We are looking for a topic, so introductory paragraph, one sentence of a thesis statement, topic sentence for the first paragraph, concrete detail where you quote, like a line from the book to describe who she is, commentary where you paraphrase your analysis, and commentary 1, and commentary 2 where you provide a little bit more analysis and explain your thoughts and whatever you understand from that quote. Is there any questions to clarify what we are supposed to do? So we are writing one introductory paragraph, and our subject is Eurydice. So choose how you're going to describe like either a character trait or a theme analysis, the type of paragraph we are writing. I'm going to give each pair a piece of paper. And I'm going to give us about maybe 10 minutes to write. Let me put a timer. Again, please use your books, use your notes that you took as we were reading. You have 10 minutes. Talk to your partner, kind of like help each other out in just like writing the structure of the paragraph. So did everybody get a partner? You do not have a partner. Please work with the three of them. I'm going to move this over here. Did everybody get to page 239? I'm going to go back to the paragraph. I'm going to go back to the slide in which it kind of like explains what's in an introductory paragraph. Does that help you if I put that in front? Kind of like guide you? Yes? Does it help? I'm just going to write the name of the character right over here. So you just write in the introduction now, introductory paragraph of Eurydice. And we are looking at page 239. For example, a book, if you were to find something to attract or to interest your reader, remember what was Eurydice? What role did she play? She was a queen. You know, Eurydice was an awesome queen. Maybe that will catch your audience's, your reader's attention. Or whatever you come up with, something catchy. And you are working together with your partner to write the paragraph. Is there something you can like in like complete details if you are describing other or if you are describing the theme that you would like say words that explain so whatever is happening. And you can also go and find other information about you already see in the book if you page through to help you remember like what type of character does she exhibit, you know? So use as much information that you have and also use your notes. And then you can provide those concrete details and make your own analysis and just explain in your own words, paraphrase and do an analysis. I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Just wanted to remind you, in your paragraph, think about what concrete details you would want to include, right? About her. Okay, that's what you put. A topic sentence to start your paragraph. What is your topic? What's your subject? What is your topic? Maybe your topic is one of her characteristics. Maybe your topic is one of the themes. And then the CM1, please, let's review quickly. What's CM1? What do we put in CM1? Commentary, paraphrase. What's in CM2? Analysis, more information, your own thoughts, your own inferences. You explaining what this particular quote means. Why is it important in describing the theme or the character? Get back to your writing. Okay, our first 10 minutes are up. Do you need more time or? So I'm going to give you, we need 5 minutes or 10? 10? All right, I'm going to set another 10 minutes. If you want to, I mean, it's
It's easy. I just like break it up into 4 sections. Like 4 songs, and then you fill it out. Was there to see what kind of
Morning. Clean you out? Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I think they did already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You too.
So I'm not explaining it. I've never read this book. I'm not interested. One of the first was a house. This one was a business. That's my support. Bringing something back to the past. Yes. So that's very much. Number three, very specific. To show what. If someone read this book, they want to How's it going?
Struggling.
The struggle is real. By the way, writing is a struggle because when you write, it kind of like makes us think, is this the right sentence? Am I saying the
So
right thing?
so much easier.
And then you'll type it, and then you will like maybe have your friend review what you wrote, and that just helps you to why do we write? Like to express ourselves, to communicate something. So when you're communicating whatever you're writing here, try to be as clear and as specific as possible. You have a topic. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Right? And then just explain. Maybe you want to say, if you want to talk about what was your topic actually? What was your topic?
You really see a mother's knowledge and her son.
And then?
Ulysses grieved over her son who passed away, and her sorrow followed the fire with the poem. Her grief is too great for public recognition.
Lamentation. What's another word for lamentation? And then, so I want you to cite where you found those in here in your Bible. Exactly like that.
All right. Our 10 minutes is done. I'm going to ask you, to please pause your writing. And remember, writing is a process. Like you would not just come out with a perfect paragraph in 10 minutes. That's not how it happens. We usually need to like practice, play with our ideas, edit, revise, read it again, ask someone to read it for us and ask, hey, how does that sound? Sometimes, you know what I do? I read my paragraphs aloud to hear how does it sound. If something is unclear, or even if I'm reading out loud, if I'm missing punctuations, I can hear, oh, maybe I should have a comma here, or full stop, or whatever, like basic stuff. Right now, I am going to be asking a few of you to share your paragraph. We'll start with Daisy and Stevie. Can you please read us your paragraph? While I'm going to ask you to do this, while one team or one pair is reading, pause whatever you are doing and just listen to what they wrote, and then we can like have a little discussion about that. Go ahead.
So me and Daisy Row was
Eurydice.
Eurydice is a person of peace. Eurydice says, I can bear it. Grief and I are no strangers. She is confident with-handed in grief. She claims that grief and her are no strangers.
Wait a minute. I don't believe you. Prove it. Prove it. I need textual evidence. Do you have textual evidence?
I mean, I have evidence of it.
Okay, tell us.
Well, in the book, it says that her son Haman died, and she ended her life because of this. And you can tell that she was already dealing with grief before Haman died, because she lost both of her nephews, like, early on, when, like, the war happened and stuff. Or the
Who are the nephews? Names? Remember? Polinices and...
siblings.
Yes. Please continue.
Eurydice is a thoughtful and caring individual.
Okay, so what was your topic sentence? The first line that you hooked us with.
Eurydice is a person of peace.
Would you agree that Eurydice is a person of peace? Just reading about her in the book? We have no idea. I mean, she fought no one. She was like minding her own business. But maybe we could characterize her as a person of peace. And what was your line of reasoning? What arguments were you making? What other arguments did you make in your paragraph?
That she claims she could bear it, grief, and she's no stranger. Because we could tell that in this sentence that she's familiar with the thought of grief, and she has overcome it.
So when we cite strong textual evidence, we are quoting. I see that you quoted something. Did you name the page? Page number?
239.
Page 239. So that was a direct quote. That was a strong evidence from the text that you used to explain your line of reasoning. What do you guys think about this paragraph? Did we have all of these points? Like, did we have a topic sentence? Did we have concrete detail, like quotation? Did we have CM1 where they paraphrase and explain in their own words? And did we have CM2 where they do an analysis of the character or even the theme? I want to hear your thoughts. You heard Daisy's and Stevie's paragraph. Did we have all of these components of the introductory paragraph? Did they have it? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes? Okay, I'm going to choose another person or another team to share, and I'm going to ask Joshua if you can please share the paragraph you wrote.
I wrote, in Antigone, one of Socrates' plays, Eurydice was a queen who suffered much loss. Eurydice was a sad and fragile person. Eurydice can be seen as a sad person because of what she has been through and what she has recently done. A quote to show this is, whatever it is, I can bear it. Grief and I are no strangers, on page 239. This is inferring that she knows the pain of losing someone close to her because she has already lost her sister to suicide, and now she has lost her son. With this, we see that Eurydice has experienced such sadness and grief for her, and later we find out she also ends up committing suicide due to the grief she felt after knowing her only son had died.
Look at that example. Did we have a topic sentence? He actually introduced in Antigone, the book or the play, by Sophocles. We know who this book is written by, and then he's just focusing on one character. Also, a paragraph only focuses on one main idea. What was your main focus?
She was a sad person.
A sad person. Did you provide supporting evidence? We saw very strong evidence from your example. Would you like to see one more example? Okay, I'm going to share what I wrote about your pasta. And I'm going to ask someone to please read it. Give me a second. who was Yocasta? You guys remember? And what was her role in her society? Queen? Just like Eurydice. I am going to ask Josiah to please read this paragraph. So this was my example describing Yocasta or Jocasta.
Jocasta's grief is characterized by a sense of overwhelming loss and despair. She mourns not only the deaths of her loved ones, but also the shattered illusions of her life. The realization
Slow
of
it down a little bit.
her unwitting role in the tragic events that befell her family is a heavy burden for Jocasta to bear, adding to her grief and sense of guilt.
Okay, so I did not quote, I didn't cite any quote, but hearing what you heard, can you go back to the book and find out like what happened to her? Did she lose people? Yeah, so I'm talking about grief. Who did she lose again? Do you also remember like why was she kind of like in big shock? There was a prophecy that she was going to marry her son or something like that, and then so what happened? She heard that she was married to her son, and she's like, oh my gosh, heck no. That was too much for her to bear. That, I mean, and all these things happen. She loses her sons. Her husband finds out that that's his mom's, blinds himself, and then she also decided to like end her life. So this is just some examples. And thank you so much for reading. When you structure your paragraph, once again, what are the main things we need to see in an introductory paragraph? Let's see, I have not told anyone in this. I'm going to ask Michael, if you can please kind of like do a little summary of what we would write in an introductory paragraph.
A hook, context, statement, and line solution.
And we want to cite as much evidence and explain that in our own words. Do we have any questions regarding the structure of an introductory paragraph? If you do, please ask me, or you can even ask each other. We'll pause right here and take a 2-minute break. Please get up, move around.